What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome into another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. He's Jahadi White. Got a good show for you here today. We're just going to kind of run through all the latest news and notes in Wizards world, but also the NBA. A couple, interesting kind of rumblings out there and reporting. So we'll get into that. But first, Jahadi, how are you? How are things?
Oh man, I'm good. I'm good. A little bit under the weather, but weather's changing and it's the Midwest, so you get all the seasons and you get everything that come with it.
Yep, but powering through here, we play hurt on this podcast, not injured, but hurt. Appreciate that. And we'll keep this one on the shorter side just for that. But folks, as always, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button for us, rate, review, subscribe. We're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas and BetOnline. It's your number one source for all your summer sports and now your fall sports. The NFL is back, so that's the big one to bet on. Get the latest stats, news, and scores available for your favorite teams. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports, including player props and odds for just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, first one I just thought was kind of interesting, Jahadi, and we talked about this a little bit beforehand, so I think you could pass along some pretty good insight into why this happened. But Evan Fournier turns down a 2-year deal with the Wizards because he, quote, doesn't want to be a mentoring player to youngsters on a losing team. I was a little surprised when I heard this at first because, first of all, it's a 2-year deal. Like, that's kind of rare for a guy that's, being asked to come in that veteran leadership role. But I don't know. Give me your perspective here on why he would say no to something like this.
I mean, if you still want to play, still feel like you have the talent and the skills and the athleticism to play the game, you want to play as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Once you take that role,
yep,
you pretty much have now put yourself in a different category to where now you never can go back to being able to be looked at a player in the NBA.
You're the Anthony Gill role for forever, right? Like this.
Yeah, you're the guy, you're the journeyman, you're the vet journeyman, just to try to keep the other players in order. So I get that. I don't get why he explained it that way. Because in the end of the day, it may be one day he wants to come back and probably have to take on that role, But to me, he just said, "Well, I'm not interested in ever, even though people see me that way, as a veteran leader, which means eventually a coach." Just the way he put it probably wasn't the most professional way to now say come back. Like, I remember what you said. You really not. I don't feel like this is something you really want to do.
Exactly. Now you're doing it because you have to, right?
Right. So, but I get it. If I feel like I still have the talent and I can still hoop, and I'm a basketball player, I want to be on the court. And if I have an option to still be on the court, because he have an option to play overseas, that was for $2 million, right?
Yeah, I think he gets to go be like the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of a European team as opposed to being.
I'm doing it.
Yeah. And I think
doing it because once it's over, it's over.
Right. There's also probably less ties to the NBA long term if you are a European player. So, it's not as weird to go back home. Like, if you were an American guy choosing to go overseas and be the man, it'd be a little even, more strange to me, I think.
Yeah, but I'm sure he really, in the end of the day, when it's all over with, he wants ties to the league.
And that's
you crave to be back in the league, even as a coach or, anything. So nothing wrong with being a coach over there, but
he also just didn't play a lot. He didn't get a ton of minutes the last couple of years for the Knicks, so that's probably part of it too. Like, he may just have the itch to be back on the court. He only appeared in 32 games last season overall, and then 27 the year before that. So it's things were winding down. He's just kind of been on the periphery of things. The year before that for the Knicks, he had played 80 games and averaged 14 points. So the fact that he's kind of in that 6-7 point per game for 30 games a year kind of range, I think is probably just another, hey, maybe I'm finally healthy. I don't want to waste my last healthy year to on the bench. So I get it, but still seeing the reporting though, I was like, what is this guy doing?
Who knows? You can go over there and revamp your career completely.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It might be more money, honestly, to be a European star playing.
Probably more money and more longevity.
Yeah.
You're not competing with the next young guy coming through. It's more veteran leadership. You have an NBA name. You have an NBA pedigree. That means a lot overseas.
for sure. Yeah, it'll help some teams sell some more tickets too, like just of having this guy that's done at this level. So it makes more sense now that I think about it and hear from your perspective too. But at first, when I saw the turn down 2-year deal, first of all, I was like, why are the Wizards offering any older player a 2-year deal unless it's totally non-guaranteed
What was the
or
value of that deal? What was them?
it hasn't come out yet. So it was probably very minimal, but
What's
just still,
what's the league minimum right now?
it's a very good question. It's tiered by years of service. So for someone like him that's a decade plus in the league, it's probably a couple $1,000,000. I mean, I would think.
Yeah. So probably equivalent.
Yeah.
But that tax free should be tax free over there.
Let's see. To encourage players to sign with 3 or more years of experience who are on minimum salary contracts. Oh, they only count for $2 million against the salary cap. Let's see. For someone like him that has probably like 12, he's been playing for over a decade. So let's see. Let's just say 10 years. For 10 plus, the veterans minimum would have been 3.3 million this season. So
once it get taxed, you're making less money.
yeah, exactly. Making 2 million, and
so it makes sense.
Yeah, so
move, actually.
More power to him.
And you get to actually be on the floor.
Exactly.
Once, like you said, once you get look, everything is about renegotiating.
Mm-hmm.
If I went from starting to a 6-man, if I scored 30 points, it doesn't matter.
You're a bench player. Yeah.
I'm a bench player. So now I only can renegotiate under the bench players line.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my ceiling is the bench player now.
Yeah. Every GM will try to get you with the, you're not even a starter anymore. So
Right. Yeah. And I have to fight that, and it's impossible. So, that's what he would be facing.
Yeah.
You're not a guy who plays anymore.
Yeah,
like you help control the locker room, and you're that veteran leadership guy. We really need that. So like he would become the guy whose feet doesn't touch the floor.
Mm-hmm. He's also a guy that said some crazy shit over the years too. So I was another like, oh, this is the guy. Like if he weren't French, he would not be the guy we would have considered to bring in for leadership. That was strictly for Sarr and Coulibaly's benefit, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
The other reporting out there is that Jonas Valanciunas is a, quote, mid to low tier trade target for the Lakers. And basically the presumption is just he couldn't get a better deal anywhere else. So he signs with the Wizards, knowing it's a short-term thing to get the contract he wants, but on a team enough friendly deal that he could be traded reasonably to anybody, could absorb that money. And, you spend a couple months here, you help Sarr, and then you're just likely, I don't know. It seems very rare that a player would kind of come into a situation like this and just basically everybody knows and has said the quiet part out loud that this is not like someone that intends to be here long term, and the team doesn't intend for him to be here long term. Like there's just too much reporting of, like Jonas will probably not be here after the deadline kind of stuff.
I'm still trying to figure out from the Wizards' perspective if it was a good deal or was it worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, what am I really getting for all of this? For going and getting this guy.
2 second-round picks, is that worth it?
Now only to trade him, only to get some second-round picks. Like, was it worth it, or it may be, but I just don't. I just feel like it was a lot of action.
Yeah.
For not a lot of return.
I think if you're going to say like some of it was on court, like they were so bad rebounding last year, like that's the one thing he'll still do at a really high level. So maybe it just raises your floor a little bit early in the year, but you don't want to be good. So do you care about that? And
was it for that?
Right. I don't know. It doesn't seem like,
you got to figure out why did we get him?
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, when you look at it, probably from the clearest point, it's just so you can try to trade him, try to get some value, and then get some more players, right? But it's not like he was a top player, or like how much value are you able to get out of him? out of
If
him.
you had to sign for the Wizards for $10 million, and it seems like no one else really wanted you, so how much trade value do you actually have in a deal?
And why did we pay $10 million?
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's still better than Rashawn Holmes, who's making like 13,
True, I agree.
and people like that. So
I mean, okay. In that case, yes, if he's going to actually be on the floor for a year,
right, exactly,
right? Yeah. But it doesn't seem like that was the plan.
I mean, yeah, if you flip him in November 12th, like it seems really weird at that point, especially like the one thing I'd say this front office has not been as successful at as we would have hoped is flipping these veteran guys for stuff. And we've talked about that a lot. Like they didn't really get anything for the guys they had last year that they wanted to move, the Landry Shamits, the Tyus Jones. Like it just sort of, they ended up having to trade their best young guys to get any kind of trade value back. So like you said, it's you're doing a lot here just to be able to hopefully flip him for 2 second-round picks.
Yeah.
And if I'm a team, like, there's no way I'm giving you a first-round pick for a guy that I wasn't willing to give $10 million to in free agency.
And how much are you going to pay for 2 second-round picks anyway?
Exactly. You could just go out and buy 2 second-round picks from another team for a couple million. So do you want to take on $10 million in salary cap to do it?
Right.
I'm with it. The only hope is that someone like the Lakers decides that, like, we are desperate for a center and we don't do anything with our second-round picks anyway. But it's also probably the teams that want him are better teams. And, again, most of their second-round picks are probably, in the second half of the second round. So does getting the 55th pick back next year and the 47th pick back the year after that really do anything for you anyway? Those are guys that end up on two ways, and you could probably just go sign an undrafted free agent that's almost as good. So it's just, I don't know. He better be a hell of a mentor. Sarr better learn something from him and his work ethic and see him rebounding. But yeah, the longer he's here, I think the more you get out of it as well, if that's the case. But if you're flipping him a month or two into the year, cool.
If I was him, I'd try to make this situation longer than they expect it to be.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's the Wizards, and not saying it in a bad way, but right now this is a situation you can kind of regain some extra years in.
Yep. Show people you still got it. In New Orleans, he wasn't getting many touches. Here, feed the paint on every possession, and see how it goes.
Yeah, you can make an opportunity out of this.
Yep. Shout out Ollie and Big J52 in the chat. Thanks for having Believe in Wizards breakfast with us here, doing the early edition. So thanks for checking in. Next thing I thought that was kind of interesting is just on the coaching front here, kind of a musical chairs situation going with the Wizards here. There were some guys that were on the staff last year. Joseph Blair left for another G League head coaching job with Houston, I want to say. And Zach Guthrie has announced he won't be coming back. He's going to go join the Lakers as the head coach of their G League affiliate, the South Bay Lakers. So, okay, 2 moves. And then kind of the more long-standing guy that predated both of those guys here is Landon Tatum, was a player development guy for the Wizards. He's going to go join the G League staff for the Boston G League affiliate, the Maine Celtics. Which, first of all, they were called the Maine Red Claws before, and it was a big lobster logo. So much better than the Maine Celtics. Like, that's a big downgrade to me.
That means only a few Celtics can come.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we don't want all the Celtics, just the Maine Celtics.
Exactly, just the big time ones here. Yeah, they should be the minor Celtics.
Right.
Yeah, so Tatum is the interesting one. He's a guy that had a good reputation as a player development person here in Washington, but he's going to Boston G League team. He's going to Maine just to be an assistant for their G League staff too. So if you're Blair or Guthrie, I get leaving because, you essentially want head coach on your resume somewhere. And that's a thing the Wizards have been good about, cycling different guys through, to be that head coach of the G League team. But just to go there to be a G League assistant feels like kind of starting over. So you must have seen the writing on the wall here or just not gelled because he was from the previous staff or something. But it's a lot of exodus here, and we haven't heard a lot about who's filling out the rest of this bench so far. Like there's been a few names that we talked about a few episodes ago, TJ Sorrentine and Alexia Jinsa and things like that. But overall, it's there's 15 assistants on an NBA, an NBA team right now. And we've heard about 3 or 4. It's a little weird.
Well, like you said, it's 15 assistants on an NBA team now, right? And player development is one of those positions that's really, really tough, because you're not really considered a coach. You're not a coach. You're more of a guy that helps the players out. So you're not even on the ranking of a coach. And just off of experiences, as we know, just history, kind of shows it's all about who you're sitting by.
Sure.
So if I'm on a player development for 5 years, maybe I'll take a big pay cut to go be a first or second assistant on a G League team. If I know it's a coach that's definitely going somewhere.
That makes sense,
right? Because then eventually, wherever that coach goes, if he goes to college, I'm there right beside him. If he goes to the league, I'm there right beside him. So a lot of these guys, most likely, you're like, well, why would they take a demotion to the G League? It's because they have a chance to sit by somebody.
That's a good point.
And I think that's kind of probably their thought process in making the move that they did. So otherwise, you're like, well, why would I leave the NBA? Well, eventually, I can give myself longevity in coaching basketball somewhere. Maybe college, maybe if guys get an NBA job, I'm there. So in the end of the day, if you watch any team, it's always that same 1 or 2 assistants, no matter where that one coach
their guy, no matter what.
Right. So, okay, let me try to get myself in one of those positions. I know guys have been in college forever. Everywhere the head coach is bounced to, he's right there. He's been by that same head coach for 10, 12 years.
I think one of Tom Izzo's assistants has been with him for like 30 years or something crazy at Michigan
Never
State.
been a head coach, though, right?
I don't think so, yeah.
Hey, but you've been a good assistant.
Exactly. You make 6 figures.
What you learn is, hey, let me try to put myself in one of those positions.
Yeah. I think for Tatum specifically here, he's also a young enough guy, too, where like you end up in Boston. If you impress with the G League team, maybe you find your way onto the Boston staff. Like that's a good way to get your name out there, too, because I don't know, when positions open up, teams are looking around at the teams that win first of guys to poach from, and probably not getting poached as much from the worst record team in the league.
Well, you're not getting poached from player development.
Yeah, that's a good point. You want to be on the bench somewhere.
That's the thing. Like I'm in a purgatory type of
right.
Not purgatory, just one of them places, where you can't see me.
Yeah, it's good to have on your resume somewhere for a lot of these guys, but you can't stay there for too long in a position like that.
Exactly. That's not a position you can stay in.
Speaking of Wizards coaches, Brian Keefe did the Chris Mannix podcast this week. A couple just interesting things. I'll summarize the half-hour interview, but for Wizards fans, go give that a listen. It was a lot of coach speak, but a couple things in there I thought were interesting. He said last year his sole focus, whether he was an assistant or a head coach, was to make sure that guys got better, and that aligned with where the front office wanted to go. But he also said that the reason he wanted to be a part of this particular franchise, knowing they wouldn't be good when he joined, was that this front office, he said, was so transparent, and they talked him through like very clearly, like, here's what we're going to do. And he appreciated like the honesty. He'd also worked with them before, so that relationship was big. But he said these are guys that he's seen definitively like do things the right way. So that was comforting to him before even, having a chance at the head coaching job. And all he wants to do this year is to focus on developing a style that will apply for them or be valuable for them when they're ready to push the gas and go forward. So it was basically saying like, hey, we're going to be shit this year, but we want guys to do things that'll actually translate to winning, which I like. And there was a lot of talk about building out the roster and building out the style of play in as close a way to what has seemed to get teams into like the semifinals of their conference, so like what the winning teams do. And from his perspective, it's always 5 guys out there on a semifinals team that play defense. So you got to have all 5 guys playing defense. And those are the things that they want to kind of translate So I thought that was really good just to hear, like, even if they're going to be bad, those things are still going to be important to them. Now we'll see if it actually, carries over during the season. Everybody can say that in September, but I think he actually means that. But it also says that this front office is trying to build. They're looking at the blueprint of what works in the league, and those are the things that they're trying to like incorporate into how they build their team, which I love.
Well, first off, what I hear him say is, I trust these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going somewhere where I can trust the front office.
Exactly.
I don't feel like they pull a fast move on me, or they're Jamie Dolan me, or anything where they tell me something and it turns. I can be rest assured that what I want to implement, I can, and I have the time to, right? Which to me, he wants to create a concept, right? Then create a concept and put that concept into a system, right? And like he said, then we slowly build that system in, right, to the point to where the players buy into the system. So when we do get good players, they come into a culture. So now it's not me now teaching everything. They're already coming into something where all the players kind of know this is the culture here. So now it's not me trying to make them fit in.
Sure.
The good players fit in. The good players are now naturally fitting in with the rest of the players. That's already a culture, and that's the system as well. And with the front office, they give me time, and I can trust them to do that.
Yep.
Which is good, like amazing for a coach to be able to have that option. So yeah, I believe everything he's saying. And then, like he said, I already know these guys.
Yep.
So I already know them. So I think they were clear and concise and straightforward with me. So I can be this, return the same way to them. Like, okay, we're on the same wavelength. This is what I want to do. Right. Like, so by the time you said when we have good players, I'm not sitting here trying to reinvent the wheel with them.
Exactly. It's already here. It's established.
Yeah, we already built the rims and the tire. We just need the tire. So I think that's what he's saying, and I like that actually.
I think you just nailed that with the biggest piece. If you're going to establish a culture, is you're going to have to hold guys accountable, and not everybody's going to like it. And if you're a coach who's looking over your shoulder, if you've got a front office that's going to side with the player ahead of you in those situations, you're not going to build the things you want to build. So that they're totally in sync is like, it hasn't happened here a ton in Washington where you hear like GM and head coach are locked in on exactly how to build this thing out. So I love that portion of it.
Yeah, and we don't have the level of players that we have to side with.
It's true.
Right?
You shouldn't be catering to the non.
Right, we don't have the players. Like, we got good players, but we don't have that level of player that's gonna call it down, and we'd be like, well, he called it down, you got to go. Right.
Yep.
But once that player gets here, the culture is already set from your top players.
Yeah.
Because they have to be still buy-in players.
Yep. No, it's huge. So again, it's all good stuff from that perspective, and you don't expect these guys to say a ton in those interviews, but just that's like a theme that keeps being reinforced, and I think that was great. The other thing they talked about too Keefe talked about was just he was the guy working with Coulibaly specifically early in the year, so I think that's like kind of like a pet project for him, is to like see Coulibaly get better. But he said not only does he think he could be a top defensive player in the league, but an offensive player who can get downhill. But he also said he thought like Coulibaly right away last year was the guy best positioned of anyone on the team to take on the toughest defensive assignments. And if you trust a rookie to come in and do that, I mean, you can speak to this better than anybody. Like, it is really hard to be a good defender as a rookie in the NBA before you have any idea what you're doing. Like, he's basically doing on instinct and physical tools at this point. Give him another year or two. I mean, like that tells me you have like a top level defensive ceiling in the league.
Well, Coulibaly has all the natural and physical attributes to be a great defender. He's long. He's wiry. He's quick. he grew up playing point, so he
Got the instinct there.
understands he understands most of what points can do, and if not, he understands how to read a point very well. Or if a point does something new, he's grasping it right away. Now he's already coming for a counter to stop it, right? So being a point makes you a great calculated defender, naturally. Now you have a 6'9", wiry guy who thinks that way, right? And so, like when I told you before, I like Coulibaly. I like how he came in. I just don't hope. I just hope he doesn't become, and when I said an NBA player, right? Because that's why he was such a great defender. Because he's actually defending.
Right.
NBA
goes a long way. That helps, doesn't it?
Right, yeah. NBA sometimes, like after a while, you start being in this league long enough, the defense is not anyone's specialty, unless they try to gain like the defensive man of the year award or the best two-way player, something like that. So I just hope he understands, hey, right now, defense is my bread and butter. It's where I'm making my money. This is how I get paid. Now let me become a player, because the problem is we don't get much from the offensive end from him anymore. When he came in, we got some two-way game.
Yeah, he got
he's become
lost
just
a little confidence,
which is fine. Become a 6'9" Pat Bev if you want to, but at the end of the day, like people are going your value and your growth is going to be on both ends of the floor in this game. And eventually, if he's only a defensive specialist, like it's going to be a disappointment.
I think going back to that blueprint of having 5 guys out there in the playoffs that can actually all defend, like they think Coulibaly can be the guy that like turns the water off for the best players in the league. And he also talked about Sarr's got this incredible versatility. He's going to block shots. He's going to move his feet. We think he can guard 1 through 5 eventually. And I think he thinks like, hey, I've got player development background and chops. Like we can develop these guys on the offensive end, to like kind of reach their peak. So it seems like they're less worried about that and willing to take the long game on. And, by the time we're good again, we'll have gotten these guys some offensive value here as well. But like, let's start with that defensive foundation.
Yeah.
And the Wizards have not done that probably since you were here, of taking guys that could come in right away and make a defensive impact. It's just not in their DNA.
But also, Coulibaly he's special.
Yeah.
You don't get that type of natural defender with that body type. To me, he's the closest thing defensive wise, body type wise, to Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of the French Scottie Pippen. I think would be that'd be great.
Now we just got to have him think like that on offense.
Exactly. Something's been like kind of coming up a lot. I've been doing these college basketball podcasts, so plug for Believe in DMV Hoops. But a lot of the young guys, freshmen that were highly touted, came in. I'm hearing this more maybe than ever of guys, the mental side of things, like not knowing when to be assertive, their confidence wavering a little more quickly. I think there's a lot of it. These guys see stuff on social media, like even someone like Coulibaly at that level, still really young. And I think that's why we saw him kind of like, kind of turn back, like take a step back offensively. But a lot of these guys are making big jumps and strides in year 2. And I think that's what I'm looking for from him this year, is like, just show like a jump. Doesn't have to be all NBA level jump right away, but like, oh, okay. Like he's clearly more confident. Like, okay, all right. Now he's willing to put the ball on the floor a little bit more, but guys seem more like deferential to the old guys than they used to. Like your generation guys, like rookies were coming in and being like, all right, I'm the man now. Like, like give me the keys and I'm going to take it. I don't think guys today have that kind of mindset as much, it seems like.
Because the game back then was physical and it's more athletic. Like I could be a physical specimen. I could be a more athletic specimen, and I can make a big dent. Right? Now
you got to have the skill over too, right?
It's the skill and cerebral off.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right? So Like, it's not about how athletic you are now. It's about how skilled and how, like, okay, I got to now be more cerebral than you. So it's a completely different challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So that challenge is much harder than it is for, like, I just got to be have more will than you and more fight than you and more instinct and jump higher, right? That's completely different. So maybe guys are more passive to a veteran now because that veteran is full of that guy in front of him is full of knowledge, and I got like, I got to figure out how to mentally surpass him in so many senses. Not only with skill, but seeing everything. Because now the game is more mental than it is physical.
Yep. Now, I think that's like perfectly said, because a lot of the guys I'm thinking of were guys that were pretty good athletes. So at the high school level and things like that, they could just like kind of dominate people. You come in college basketball, like everybody's just physically gifted. Now they're more skilled. Same thing for Coulibaly. Like he's still a great, high-end NBA athlete, but it's not like he's so much more gifted than the people on the court physically than he was when he was playing under 21 guys. So with another year of coaching and film study and all these things, you clean up the skills a little bit here. Like I said, I think we can see a pretty big jump from him. Like you mentioned Scottie Pippen, like that's obviously like the best like long-term outcome. But if he's worst case scenario turns into Jaden McDaniels, like I'd take that, as like a lockdown wing stopper with some offense. And someone like McDaniels, I think hasn't even fully tapped the stuff he can do offensively even. So I think that's like a very realistic ceiling for someone like him. So we'll see if he can get there. But yeah, said nice stuff about Sarr. I appreciated hearing that about Coulibaly. So it was all good stuff. Moving on to a Wizards younger player that's not been as successful. We talked a couple episodes ago about just Johnny Davis and how we hadn't seen anything about him all summer. And then like the minute after we posted that episode, there were pictures that came out of him working with Drew Hanlen all of a sudden. So obviously, Drew is, a name, especially in the St. Louis area there. So I'm probably interacted with him at some point, but this guy that did a lot for Beal, like all his guys, they come out more skilled, more willing to put the ball on the floor. I still would have liked to see Davis, working with a shooting coach specifically. That's not really like Drew's number one forte there, but it's something, and I'm just glad to see it. And hopefully some of it translates. If you got a little more of a bag, like maybe you get more confidence, and maybe we get back to seeing some of what we saw from him in Wisconsin.
I mean, Davis, one thing it seemed like he understands is, hey, I got to make, I'm at a desperate point right here. I got to make a big change for my game, right? Sometimes players try to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to get better, right? I need to, and then they come up with their own solutions, and then they go to a trainer and say, hey, this is what I want to get better on. This is what your expertise is, and great. Doesn't mean the NBA wants that.
Right. The Wizards probably do not want him to be doing a bunch of ISO dribbling and stuff.
Like, we don't want you to be a snatchback king.
Exactly. Sit in the corner and hit open threes.
Specialist. Yeah. But it's okay because in the end of the day, you are building your bag. You are expanding your game in a sense. But, with a guy like Davis, you have to perfect one or two things to perfect them great, right? You have to be impactful. And impactful is either you're going to have to put the ball in the hoop, or you're going to have to be a great facilitator. You're going to have to be something. And it's just that one thing. So just make sure while you're building your game, like the NBA, it's a lot of scores. Everybody can score. You're not going to stay in this game by scoring. Right? Not a guy like Davis. What are you going to do? What are you going to do that's needed? And that's what he really needs to really focus on.
I think he's already like a pretty good perimeter defender, but he may have been the worst offensive player in the league last year. Like I'm totally with you. Like that scoring buckets is not what's going to keep him in the league, but you just got to be able to hit like a decent percentage of wide open catch and shoot threes as a guard, or they'll never put you on the court.
Right, and that's what he really needs to be focused. Everything he should be doing right now is all type of reenactments and game situations to be able to catch and shoot three. I don't know. I know Drew, and he works on a lot of things, and he can do that very well too.
Yeah.
So, hopefully that's what they're working on.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like the game situation stuff sounds like that's something that Drew strives with. I still would have, hey, whoever's the best shooting coach in the world right now, that's who I would have been spending the summer with. But
it's a difference between a great shooting coach and a great situational.
Yeah, right? No, that's a great point. Actually putting it into use on the court.
Right. Yeah, because I can make sure you follow through and do all that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Right. But like, how many screens you running off of? Like, how quick you getting your release off? So it's two things. Like right now, Steph Curry didn't just become great just because he has a great shooting coach.
Sure.
He become great because whatever he was coached at shooting, they had to evolve into run here, run there, run it, get all different type of game scenarios, and still be able to shoot everything, do everything that we taught you as a shooting coach.
It's just been so rough for Davis. I'm happy to see anything that may give me some hope that there's a positive step forward coming. So this is great news in my opinion. I'll happily take it, and we'll see if it pays off anyway. All right. I want to just implement. Well, actually, we'll talk about another former Wizards young player who had some potential here that maybe didn't fully live up to it. A guy I always thought was super talented was Andray Blatche. He was like, when I was that age in like high school and stuff, like the guy I was always most interested to watch play, because there weren't a ton of 6'10" guys at that point that could, beat you off the dribble and hit step back, fade away 17-footers. And like he had the skill set of what now modern bigs all have to have. Before everybody had to have it. But he was on the Dwight Howard podcast in the last week and said, I look back even on a lot of my time in the NBA, and I could have done a lot of things differently. I could have listened a lot better, but it's like, I don't know. I just didn't understand. So I was just out there doing me. I'm young. I'm 18 years old, and I was just doing me. So for Blatche, I think if I were the Wizards, that's actually the guy of the former players I would bring back in and have them tell, like, almost like, the Hard Knock story or like the Scared Straight story of like, I didn't listen and I didn't have vets around me and I didn't take it in and I underachieved because of it. Because skill wise, he should have been a much better player than he was. You saw the 1 year in Washington here where he got featured, the 1 year in Brooklyn. A 17 point per game, 9 rebound guy. He was just a goofball. And I think that points to that generation of Wizards teams. There weren't a lot of like strong vets. And when I see the things like the Anthony Gill stuff, these are the stories that make me think like, all right, actually now I feel better about like investing in keeping guys like Gill around and stuff like that. Because those Blatche's Wizards team did not have that kind of guy. They just didn't. Not enough of them, at least, that anybody listened to. So I don't know. Johnny, I'm sure you saw a bunch of guys that were crazy talented, but they just squandered the opportunity long term, or like just underachieved because they didn't take it in from the old guys. They didn't learn. They didn't take care of themselves. They didn't fit into a role, all that kind of stuff. But just, I guess, what's your reaction to Blatche's comments?
I used to see Blatche a lot because I was still around DC a lot. He was a wild boy, man.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys come into the NBA and don't understand that the main thing is the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
So being a NBA player is different between being a player in the NBA, right? He was a player in the NBA to the point to where the lifestyle takes over, right? And the lifestyle is just as addictive as the actual court style, right? Like being on the court. And that's why a lot of guys say you got to keep the main thing, because so many things come from being an NBA player that literally can take over the focus of actually being in the NBA, right? So the main thing is basketball, training, working, but with the lifestyle comes the girls, the parties, the attention, the fun, the homeboys, all these elements. Then it can be 100 different elements that come in, right? And you forget about the main thing because your lifestyle has changed. It became so exciting.
Sure.
And I think what he's saying is, if I could do it all over again, I would keep the main thing, and focus on the main thing and get better with that, right? But what I did was I got addicted to the lifestyle, and I lived the lifestyle, and the lifestyle ruined my career.
Yep.
So, and it happens a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you could, like, a couple guys immediately come to mind. I feel like there's always a few that everyone thinks of, like, if this dude was like as committed, as player X, like, imagine how good they could have been.
But it's hard. It's hard.
Sure.
So many things come to the point to where, yes, sometimes you don't get better because a lot of guys remain the same as they came in as when they left, and their talent didn't grow. Because all the attention that the game gave them outside of basketball. All the attention came from basketball, but outside of the court.
There's a guy that comes to mind a lot when this kind of thing comes up for me on the tennis side of things, and that's Australian player Nick Kyrgios. And he had this comment one time about, like, somebody asked him about, like, hey, Nick, like, we hear you don't work very hard. Like, don't you want to be like, you could be the best if you wanted to. And he's like, look, I could work as hard as anyone on the tour, and maybe I get myself into the top 5, but maybe I never become the best 1 or 2 guys. Or I could do nothing, like, right now and continue to have fun and still be guaranteed top 50 in the world. Like, which would you do? And all of us can sit here and say, like, I would have put in all the work, but
put it all in.
But also, like, it's the same kind of thing. Like, he's having a good time. He's making a lot of money already. It's easier said than done, I guess.
We all fell victim to it, became victim to it. I mean, I can go back and think about many regrets I have. Say, well, I should have expanded my game. I should, instead of, I'm in LA right now. Let me see what LA about. And every player is but if you last long enough, your mentality changes. Those things that's important, the lifestyle becomes less important, and longevity and understanding that basketball is a business becomes more of a priority. But you got to stick around long enough to understand it, or you got to be quick enough and smart enough to realize it early in your game. Well, he didn't stick around, and he was so much about the lifestyle, he didn't get a chance to even see the transition.
Yeah, it seems like that switch flips for everybody, almost everybody at some point. It just doesn't flip early enough for you to make a positive impact. And for Blatche, it clearly didn't. So I appreciate him saying that. Like, it's self-aware and it's accountable. And I don't know if there's a way to pay that forward and tell some of these other young guys, like, I hope that they're hearing
It's real. What he said is so real.
Exactly. All right, a couple things that aren't real. I wanted to start a new podcast segment here. Just old guys be saying hater shit, basically. Like, it's just, this has been the summer of, like.
So how do you abbreviate that?
Exactly. We got to come up with a good acronym for it. But just
OG VHS.
Yeah, just there's just
VHS. Old guys be saying hater shit.
That's the best. Yeah, I love that. All right, that's the new thing here. There's just so much of it. It seems like this summer of guys just saying wild stuff here. Former Bullet, one of my favorite former Bullets for his 1 year here, Rasheed Wallace, was talking about the Anthony Edwards, Michael Jordan thing. And he said, Anthony Edwards is not better than Derrick McKey. He's not better than Grant Hill. He's not better than a Scottie Pippen. Okay, Scottie Pippen, really effing good. He's a top 25 player of all time. Grant Hill could have been if he hadn't been injured. No disrespect to Mr. McKey, but there's a very big drop-off between those two names and Derrick McKey. I think Derrick McKey would tell you that. So saying that Anthony Edwards is not better than Derrick McKey is just fucking crazy. Like, it's just, there's no way you can say that and actually think that. I don't think so, at least.
It depends on what if he's considering what Derrick McKey was good at. Like, to me, Derrick McKey was the backbone of the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, he was an important player, but.
And the backbone, literally. Like,
yeah.
He held that entire team up defensively. And he did everything. And on any given night, he's going to do his job, do it to the fullest. And he had a hard job.
Yeah, sure.
Had a very physical job because most of his stuff was defense, right? Like, I hated playing against the 76ers. That's one of the teams I hated playing against the most because you couldn't get anything off.
Yeah.
And it was mostly Derrick McKey. So could Anthony Edwards be that? Is he that? No, he's not that. So if you're looking at it from that angle and that specific attributes, right?
So
offensive wise,
Jahadi, not Aaron McKey from Philly, Derrick McKey. Exactly. Aaron McKey, right? That was the guard with the Allen Iverson teams.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
He said Derrick McKey, and I had to go look this up too. Was like a 15-point per game scorer as a power forward for the Sonics and the Pacers. So he played
even the fact the fact his name just don't quickly register in my head.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how crazy it is.
Yeah, no.
Like the Aaron McKey one, like I'm with you. Like he was a lockdown important role player on a team that made an NBA Finals. Derrick McKey. No.
Okay. Well, yeah. No. So
no. I had to look it up in real time too because I thought the same thing. Agree. Yes, I thought the same thing.
And the bottom line is you don't even know what Anthony Edwards is yet.
Right. He's 22 or whatever. Like it's.
Yeah. Give him. Anthony Edwards he's young. He's not even developed into a player yet, and he's that effective.
Yeah.
So you can't really rate him. You can rate where he is. You got to rate him on a potential wise, because he's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah.
Right. He's going to be better than or just as good as a lot of those players. He said, but he's just as effective now.
If you want to say like, Anthony Edwards is no Scottie Pippen. Like, yeah, okay, no shit. He could turn into something like that, but he's not. He's no prime Grant Hill. Cool, no issue. But we both watch a lot of basketball, know a lot of basketball, and especially from those era teams. The fact that I did the same thing and also was like, yeah, Aaron McKey. Oh wait, Derrick McKey. Who the fuck is that?
Who's Derrick McKey?
It looks like he was a very good NBA player. I feel bad that I don't.
But this is not Anthony Edwards prime.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
What are we rating? Are we weighting these guys in their best peak, in their peak prime?
Yep.
Yeah. And then if that's the case, Grant Hill even have one?
Exactly. That's true. Yeah. Anthony Edwards is already better as a 22-year-old than a guy that averaged 11 points and 4 rebounds was for his whole.
I disagree. I don't agree with that.
And then the next one was.
Oh, guys be saying hater shit.
Exactly, man. This next one is little. Is Shaq. Shaq can say whatever he wants normally, and I'll give him all the credit in the world because you do it at that level, more power to you. But he's talking about Victor Wembanyama, and he just said he didn't think he could be a very dominant player with the way he plays because he shoots too many jumpers. And he can shoot a lot of jumpers, but I don't know. If you watch that Olympic finals, like, he was killing us around the rim. It wasn't because he was hitting step back threes. It's cool that he can do that. Those are the highlights you see. But I thought Wembanyama was dominant in that game. And he didn't do it shooting jumpers. So I get Shaq's point, but it was basically like, it's the old guys saying this guy is too soft and shoots too many jumpers comment. And I don't think that that's accurate for the way Wembanyama really plays.
What's the definition of dominant? Now,
yeah.
Name me a dominant player in the NBA.
Joel Embiid or Jokic maybe are probably the two bigs I would say are the most dominant.
Okay. So, Jokic-wise, old school dominant.
Yeah.
Right. I would say that.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Embiid, he shoots just many or more jumpers than Wembanyama.
I think so too. Yeah,
So how does he get the dominant label?
exactly.
Why? And if he does, it's because the game has changed. Dominant isn't the same dominant as back then.
Yeah,
You
no
can't
one's
be
giving
that
you
dominant.
right.
That dominant don't exist. That dominant don't exist in any player. And if
Yeah.
it does, it exists in Jokic. And the only reason it does because they run the entire offense through him, and he has 4 eyes on each side of his head,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
but otherwise, that dominant wouldn't even exist with Jokic, right?
No. Yeah.
He wouldn't be effective.
Yep.
So, Shaq's definition of dominant
Doesn't exist anymore, right?
it doesn't exist in the game anymore, which means like it's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he thinks if they're not getting 25 post-ups a night like he was.
Man, the game don't go there. The game is not an inside-out game anymore.
Exactly. I wish it were more inside-out, but you know.
So it's impossible to be that player that Shaq's talking about because no one touched the ball in the post. Anthony Davis, probably the guy who touched the ball in the post the most out of any NBA player.
Yeah, and it's literally because he stopped being able to shoot a couple years ago, so now they go back to him in the paint.
So I don't know. It's almost saying that it's almost like saying, well, excavation is not excavation anymore because they're not using the John Deere 73 from 17 years ago. They're not, because now it got this new thing that does it a better job it's smarter.
Yep, we got a laser for that now.
Yeah, they got a laser for it, right? Man, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. There are definitely guys that you have to blend the two now, right? Like Embiid still kills people around the rim, but it's not 90% of his paint touches. Or not 90% of his offensive possessions are old school back to the basket post ups. Like it's just like actually Giannis is probably the guy that scores the most around the rim of those players, because he can't really shoot, but he's also doing it in transition and getting a running start from the 3-point line. Like, yeah. So it just, I thought that was just my generation is better than your generation because I dunked on Todd McCullough a bunch of times or whatever.
But the thing is this, and look, Shaq was our favorite player. I used to pattern my game after Shaq.
Sure.
What's Shaq gonna do in this game now?
People would just dare him to shoot and double him. Like
he couldn't be the dominant player he would be. He probably wouldn't even. Be real, Shaq probably wouldn't get a lot of time in this game.
I think like young, skinny Orlando Shaq would look a lot like what Giannis does, but
but he would have to develop some else.
Right.
He wouldn't be able to get downhill.
Not the same way. He didn't have the same bag to do it. Like, but end of his career, Shaq, they'd run him off the floor and
they'd have been out the league a long time ago.
Somebody just be shooting threes and dragging him away from the hoop.
It's just a different world, man.
Yeah.
Barkley wouldn't fit in this game. It's a different game now. It's a different body type. It's a different. Now they're looking for giraffes and gazelles.
Yeah.
Back then they were looking for bullies and bronze.
Yep. Sure. Yeah, you can't kind of barrel your way to the hoop and out physical someone anymore because they'll basically throw you out of the game for it. I just thought that one was interesting. And then there's always one of these a week, it seems like at this point. But the latest Gilbert Arenas one, he said, you could have 0 points and 20 assists, but to me, I stopped the F out of you. I shut you down. And Brandon Jennings said, no, you didn't. 20 assists is 40 points. That's dominating the game. And they basically went back and forth. And Kenyon Martin sort of backed Gilbert up for a while and said assists don't really matter. If my guy has a bunch of assists, it means I shut him down. But guys get assists because other people had to help and rotate, and they broke the defense down, and they got their guys good looks. They created those looks for them. It's not I passed the ball to you and then you scored, so you shut me down. It's I created a look and a basket for someone else. So 8 points and 20 assists. I literally single-handedly owned that game.
Assists mean I got what I wanted.
Yeah, right.
Right. Assists mean you got 20 points.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because you shot 10 shots.
Yeah.
I have how many assists? He said
He said 0 points and 20 assists, which is a weird
I got
example.
20 assists.
Yeah, 40 points.
Which means I created 20 points.
Yeah.
It's still creating 20 points.
Yeah.
One is
it's created 40 points.
you created 40 points. So
it's
I
even
won.
better.
No, not only that, and I mean your defense sucks.
Right, exactly. That's what I said.
Are you defending me? So I mean you were defending me.
Yep.
I created more points than you.
Yeah, I won.
Yep.
Yeah,
I beat you every time.
His thing was, if I throw you the ball and you score, that means your defender did a shit job, not me. And that's just that says everything you need to know about his Wizards era teams.
Now that you got to read the guy with the ball.
Exactly. Like him.
Right. So the guy with the ball is the one that's in control.
Right. Yeah.
You're dictating. You read me, and I need you to cut, and you cut. Boom. I'm hit because if I'm getting 40 assists, I'm not just passing around the perimeter.
Exactly. Yeah.
You
might get 1 or 2 of those a game. Yeah.
I'm creating. Exactly. I'm orchestrating.
Yep.
I'm the guy. I'm the
conductor.
composer.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm running the whole symphony.
Mm-hmm.
I'm way colder than you just dribbling and going and doing this. I'm running 5 guys. Nah, I disagree.
Brandon Jennings was like in disbelief, and I was like,
I disagree. But it's too many challenges, especially back then. You just think I'm a scorer.
I scored more points than you. I won.
The guy who did the 20 assists?
20 assists, yeah.
He won the game.
Exactly. That's why Jason Kidd is in the Hall of Fame and Gilbert Arenas is not.
At the end of the day, who walks out the winner, who walks out the loser? You walk out the loser with your 20 points. I walk out the winner with my 40 assists.
It's the classic, I got mine and F everybody else. Why didn't they do theirs? And that says a lot about those teams.
And I'm going to be coaching that. When that's all over with, I'm going to want to go and be coaching, head coach.
Yeah.
I know how to run some shit.
Yep.
If I'm giving 40 assists, if I get 20 assists, I know how to orchestrate an entire symphony.
Yeah, you've seen the game like 3 levels more than everybody else.
Man, come on. All right, let's analyze that.
It's crazy that I think he truly believes that one. Sometimes he says shit for clickbait, but he means that.
Gilbert is a smart dude.
Sure.
No, that's too. Come on.
Like there are definitely things he says on that show where I'm like, he did this to go viral. This
he didn't
is
think
not
it
one
out.
of them. This one I feel like he fully truly believes, like to the core. It says everything about him as a player. Like I will get mine.
That's the worst thing you can say though.
I know, and but now when you think about why those teams didn't win shit, like it makes sense. It was 5 guys just out there doing shit. So if your point guard's not locked in,
one guy is about winning.
Yeah,
and one guy is about scoring.
Yep.
But truth be told, the guy who's about winning actually scored more than you, created more.
Exactly.
Because you can't create 20 assists unless you're running the whole thing.
Yeah.
Unless you're you got to be a mastermind.
If you have 0 points and 20 assists, and why don't I sag off you and prevent you from creating for other guys? Then if you're so bad, I'd
rather you score.
Exactly right. Like let's make you get an inefficient.
You're not only eating me alive as a defender,
right?
You're eating my other 4 defenders alive. Everybody on the floor.
There's become this revisionist history too with like the Steve Nash 2 MVPs, right? Of like the guy basically averaged like 14 and 12 or whatever the year, like those 2 years. And it's like, well, he only scored, 15 points a game or whatever the case may be. But he dominated the game, and people that just see the box score, you don't know that or you don't remember that. But like those 2 MVP seasons, he averaged 15.5 points and 11.5 assists the first year and 19 points and 11 assists the next year. And it's like, well, other people scored way more than him. It's like you didn't understand. He's in the
Hall of Fame.
Exactly. He dominated those games.
Because he saw light years beyond
Exactly.
your follow through.
Right. He could have scored 30 a game if
Your
he'd
follow
wanted to do
through
it.
means so much compared to his levels of seeing the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
It's
we're
true.
pretty much comparing.
Yep. Jahadi, your year in Phoenix was before he came back. You were with Marbury,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I was with Marbury.
Like just pick like those two players. Then, for example, like Stephon was a crazy talented player, but the team got better long term with Nash. Like Marbury was the I could get 25 on anybody guy.
Because
And
Steph wanted to score just as much as he wanted to assist.
exactly.
Nash didn't care about points.
Nope. He probably should have cared more about points. To be honest,
Think about how many players always had to get upset with Steph and it was a lot of this there when I was in Phoenix because Steph was putting up just as much as he would try to pass.
Yep.
Now think about players that just all they have to do is study Steve Nash because as long as I study him, figure him out, I am going to end up scoring.
Right.
Somehow I can get a guaranteed 20.
Mm-hmm.
Not only I can get a 20, Sean Mary can get 22.
Exactly.
Joe Johnson get 20. Like, we can spread this out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Steve Nash is going to get me paid more. I'm going to get, right? Because
you're happier to play with that guy.
Yeah, and it's an easy buckets.
Right, exactly. Make me look good in the process because I'm efficient too about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Gil could get 20 points, but he'd have to hit some tough ass shots, and he was amazing at it. But like again, like a Nash.
But how many are you gonna miss?
Exactly. The
you
efficiency not great. Yeah.
What's your field goal percentage? Because now you got to go crazy. If I'm with Steve Nash, I'm getting 20. I'm getting 20. I'm like my field goal percentage is gonna be
70%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I just normally I like shrug those ones off when I know it's just saying shit, but like I think he thought that, and as a Wizards fan, you can feel like that's why those teams had a ceiling at the end of the day. And obviously some of it's roster construction and things like that too, but it's a mentality thing. Like some guys have that to win you a game. Last one here, just to close us out. Kyle Kuzma said, if he is not selected for Team USA, he would be interested in playing for the Philippines national team. Well, first of all, he will not be selected to play for Team USA. I feel pretty confident saying that right out of the gate here. But how do you feel about that, Jahadi, of guys like going to pick another country if they don't make Team USA?
It's the Olympics.
Yeah.
If I'm not playing for Team USA and they're not considering me, and I have the option to play somewhere else because of my bloodline, I'm going.
Right.
Because the Olympics, that's an experience. That's once in a lifetime. Not every guy gets to go. Say, for instance, if Kyle Kuzma didn't have a drop of Filipino in him, anything, his only option would be the USA, and he had never played.
Right.
So yeah, go play.
I'm 100% with you, except for the guys that have like already played for a national team. Like the fact that Joel Embiid could go play for France or Cameroon at the next Olympics. I do not like that kind of stuff.
No, I don't either.
And or if you've even played on a FIBA under 18 team for Team USA, I still feel like you shouldn't be able to
go
represent another country. It just, you've already picked a side, basically.
To me, I would rather guys go play. If they did play for USA early in their career, and then they went to go play for their home country, I would rather them do that because they're spreading the game. They're expanding the game globally.
Yeah, the Bahamas will care more about basketball
I should be playing there.
Yeah,
but I'm going to go play for USA. To me, that's I think that's counterproductive.
Agreed. Yeah, of the two, for sure. That makes sense. All right, partner. I think that's all I got for you here. I told you it'd be a short one, so naturally we went over an hour. So sorry for doing that while you're under the weather, but thanks for powering through. Anything you want to close us out with or anything?
No, I'm good, my man. I'm
cool.
Good.
All right, everybody. If there's anything you want us to talk about specifically in the offseason here, let us know. We'll line it up for next week or whatever. But as always, please click that like button for us on YouTube. Leave us an iTunes review. Those are always appreciated. rate and review. We're presented by betonline.ag, and we will catch you all next time.